Hey Internet, it's Cameron, and I had an idea. I was recently sent a plugin called Melody Sauce from the folks over at EvaBeat or EvaBeat, and this is a plugin that uses AI to generate melody ideas. You can pick the key, there's a couple harmony features, there's a couple parameters where you can choose light, dark, simple, or complex, or combine the two, and it's actually a pretty cool plugin. I've actually found Melody Sauce really useful, not only for generating background music and melodies for sample packs, but it's also just a good tool to generate some ideas and draw some inspiration from. So I figured why not take this whole thing one step further, and by combining it with some of the player devices in Reason like the beat map and the quad note generator utilizing MIDI out, and a handful of my favorite plugins and effects and synths and stuff, why not let my computer write a song and see what it spits out? If you want to check out Melody Sauce for yourself, it's only $49 and they offer a 7-day full refund policy. You can find more information and all that stuff with the link down in the comments. If you want to skip ahead and hear the final result, you can go to this time right here. So I figured by using a chord generator and beat map and the quad note generator and then some synths that offer sample and hold functions, we could probably create something pretty interesting and then just arrange it out, do some mixing, add some cool effects, and see what happens. I would really like to revisit this idea at some point in the future as well, using some AI mixing and mastering tools, because I know a lot of those have come a long way, and I'd like to see what a computer and AI is capable of in this day and age, because a lot of the AI stuff has improved pretty significantly. If you find this video inspiring and you end up conducting a similar experiment, drop a link to your track down in the comments or send it in my Discord. I'd really love to check it out because I think this is pretty cool and I'm curious to see where we're going to end up. So let's hop into the DAW and get things started. Okay, so to kick things off, we're going to start by going to chordchord.com to generate a chord progression because we're going to need to establish a key before we can start doing anything. Okay, so after going through it a few times here, this is what I've got: D minor, F, A7, and G minor. Which I think that should work just fine. And we can also download the MIDI and drag it right into our DAW, which is pretty cool. So here I've got a project at 110 beats per minute. I think that's a pretty average tempo we should be able to work in. And I created this patch in Dune 3. This is just some detuned sine waves. So 2 voices, a little bit of detuning, some spread, and then I tied the LFO to the fine tuning. And that gives me a nice smooth chord patch, which sounds like this. So now let's put those chords together and find a progression that works, and then we'll start generating some melody ideas with Melody Sauce. All right, after a little bit of finagling with it, this is where I ended up. So I think this works. If I open it up, this is what I did. I just took those chords and switched things around a little bit at the end. So I just went back from G to F. I think that just made a bit more sense. So we have a little bit of, human stuff here to make this make a bit more sense, but I think this really works. So I just added a bass note and then did some chord inversions just to make it flow a bit better. Okay, so now let's start adding our melody. So this is Melody Sauce. I've set this up to be in the key of D minor, set the speed to fast. I didn't touch anything else. And then I just went ahead and generated a couple melodies. So I'll show you quickly how this works because it's really, really simple. So if I wanted to generate a complex dark melody, I would just click this. And here we go. Now we have melody 6. If I play this back, let's go out here somewhere. If I play this right now, you'll hear melody 6. And now let's say we want a simple light melody. And let's harmonize it. And that's really all there is to Melody Sauce. It's super simple, and I really like the way that it works. So I took a couple of these melodies here. I have 1, 2, 4, and 5. 3 I accidentally deleted, so whoops. So I start off with 1 here, then we move into 2, then we skip to 4, and then we go to number 5 here, and then I go to 5 again with a low harmony on it. And this way we just get a bit of an arrangement, and we rein things in a bit, I guess, to make it not just purely random. Okay, so now that I've arranged these, this is the first melody. And then we have another one here. And we have one more here. And then we have these two here. So this is the melody 5 and the melody 5 with the low harmony. So this is kind of intended to be, I guess, the chorus of the song. So we can just arrange things out that way. So we have kind of like an intro melody, a verse-ish thing, I guess, and then kind of a change up, and then we get into this chorus melody thing. So I think things are actually turning out pretty cool, and I like the variety that Melody Sauce gave here. It's not kind of spitting out the same thing over and over. We're getting some interesting variations, but they all make sense together. It's not just random notes in a key. It's actually pretty sensible in the way it approaches, you know, the phrasing and repetition and things like that. Like, it actually constructs a melody a bit more like a human would. For the melody patch here, this is actually pretty straightforward. So first I have a saw wave, and that's really all that's happening here. And then I have the first LFO, which is on sample and hold, and it's synced to 16th notes. This is targeting the filter cutoff. LFO 2 here is targeting oscillator 2's wavetable position. This is on little formant, and then oscillator 2 volume is being targeted by LFO 3, which is a sample and glide. LFO 2 is also a sample and glide. This way we're getting a melody that moves around quite a bit and has a lot more to it, even though it's a pretty simple thing. So I think by taking that and maybe adding some delay and reverb and stuff like that, we should get a nice kind of spacey modern melody sound. Now that we've got these things out of the way, let's open up a Reason rack and get beat map going and get some drums. Okay, so this is my drum rack here. So I've got a beat map, and I just kind of set this randomly, didn't really touch much of anything. And then I grabbed some LFOs here. So I've got these LFOs, these are a sine, and then a triangle, and then some sample and holds down here. If we flip this around, I've targeted this to snare density, the map area, and then the hat density. So we're just going to get a bit more variation overall than just using the straight up beat map, which is really cool. I put together a little drum kit here from my Mori sample pack. I've got a kick, I've got a shaker, I've got a snare, or a rim really, a hat, another hat here, and then one more open hat here. And that's really it. All I did to change the sound up was just pan out a few of the hats, and there we go. So what's cool though is because we've got those LFOs tied to the map X and Y, we're going to get just random stuff. It's just going to keep moving and evolving over time, which is what I really, really love about beat map. So if we take a listen now, this is what everything sounds like. As you can hear, it's just a constantly evolving drum pattern, which is what's really cool about harnessing those LFOs. And I think this adds just a really nice organic evolution to the track over time, rather than just being like a static beat map position. It's just continuously evolving and growing and changing along with the song. And what's also cool is if you play this back again, you're going to get a different result. So it's kind of a different song every time, which is pretty neat. I'm pretty happy with where this is at right now, but I think let's bring in a quad note generator next, just to add some kind of background stuff and just further that randomization to everything so we get a different song every time. Okay, so this is my quad note generator setup. I set this to D minor pentatonic and just up the master variance about 150% and use some LFOs here. If we turn this around, I've got this set to the pattern select, so I'm just targeting that to get different patterns and stuff going on. So again, it just evolves and grows over time, and also every time we play it back, we get something totally unique. Not really much else to talk about there. This goes into a Dune 3, which is this guy right here. 2 saw waves, nothing really happening. The only thing going on is just the filter envelope, so this is giving it a bit of a plucky thing. So if we take a listen, this is what we've got. So that just adds some interesting background melody stuff. As you can see, I've also gone through and done a little bit of arrangement. So I've got some muting on the drums here because I can't stop them. And same with the quad note, this just mutes. So now I've got kind of an intro, and then the drums come in, and then we got this chorus, and then we got kind of this breakdown thing, I guess. And then the melody is going to build back up, and then we're going to go out with the chorus, and then we'll be done. So to further enhance this idea of constantly evolving yet controlled melodies, let's take a crack at Arteria Pigments because it includes some pretty cool features. Okay, so let me explain what's going on here. First, let's dive into the random. What we have here is a Turing machine, and if you don't know what this is basically a sample and hold, but it's a bit more intelligent and complicated than that. This feeds itself data and it holds on to some of it, and then it changes it every once in a while. That's a very, very bad way of explaining it, but that's more or less the way to think of it. It's a sample and hold that holds onto itself and then eventually changes and evolves. Here on Random 2 and Random 3, I've got a sample and hold and then another Turing machine. If we take a look here, Random 2 is targeting the wavetable position, and this is smoothed a little bit, and the rise and fall are actually being targeted by the Random 3. So that's actually kind of neat, and then this is also controlling the rate of the first Turing machine, so we're getting just a bunch of movement and stuff happening, and then I just left it on the basic waveforms. The next thing I've done is use the first random to target the pitch. So this way I can just hold down a note and it's going to play random stuff, and then I quantized it to a scale. To do that, all I did is hit this Q button here and open up this little pencil thingy and just drew in a minor pentatonic scale. So we have the 1, flat 3, 4, 5, and then 7 up here, or flat 7. So what this means is I'm going to hold down D and it's going to play back random stuff in D minor pentatonic. To give things a bit more life here, I use some LFOs. So this is adjusting the wavetable 1 fine, and that's just giving it a bit of, organic movement, not really anything to it. And then LFO2 here is going to the filter 1 cutoff. This is multi-mode filter, just low pass. I think this is actually the default settings, just with a bit more resonance. And I didn't do anything else. I think that was just a pretty straightforward patch that actually sounds pretty cool. Pigments is actually very, very powerful for this kind of stuff, and I want to do a video on that in the future because it's one of the few synths I think that makes this approach and this kind of idea very accessible and very cool, while also having a lot of stuff under the hood that you can do with it. So just to play this back, this is the Pigments patch. As you can see, this is just D1 being held out, and it's going to play a bunch of different notes. Which I think is actually super, super cool. Inside of Pigments, I added some effects here. This is just the delay. I think this is the stock settings, just blended it in, and reverb, I think, again, it's stock settings and blended it in. That gives us a nice spacey lead thing / extra melodic layer. And when we put all of this together here, like toward the end of the song, it's actually pretty cool. To finalize everything, I think we just need to add a bass, and then I'm going to do some mixing stuff, and then we'll take a listen to the final thing. And we're back with Cameron's amazing bass patch. This is extremely complicated, so I'm not sure I'm going to be able to walk you through it in under an hour. This is a single saw wave with a low pass, 24 decibels per octave, key tracking, and filter drive, and man, that is a crazy complicated patch. So this is what the bass sounds like. All I did was follow the root note of the chords. It's not really doing anything beyond that. I figured why not just let it kind of go with what we got from chord. So it sounds like this. And when you put everything together, it sounds like this. I think this has actually turned out a lot better than I thought it would, if I'm being totally honest. So I'm going to go ahead and do some mixing stuff here, and I will see you back in a second with the power of some Hollywood magic. Hey, that didn't take long at all, said everyone. So here is the final result. I didn't do too much, just kind of for the sake of time. I just did some basic balancing and some quick work to add some effects and whatnot. So on my drums here, I've got a couple things, added some nice delays. I've got the Super VHS for some nice warble. Comeback Kid here sounds really, really good. It's a fantastic delay. I've got bad tape on some stuff. I've got God mode on some stuff. I've got some side chaining. I've got some filter sweeps. I've got my generic mastering chain that works for just about everything, and applied a couple tweaks, leveled out a few things, and let's take a listen to the final product. So that is the final result of more or less letting my computer write a song for me. I think this turned out a lot better than I thought it would, and I think it was pretty cool just to be able to use stuff like melody sauce to quickly throw some ideas down and leave the rest to chance. Like I said earlier, if you found this video inspiring and you conduct a similar experiment, drop a link to your track in the comments below, because I'd really like to hear just where you end up, because I think this is a pretty cool process and can yield some pretty decent results. So big shout out to the folks at EvaBeat or EvaBeat. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. I really couldn't find videos of anyone saying the name of the company, but thanks for hooking me up with melody sauce. Like I said, guys, if you want to check it out for yourself, you can find the link down in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys again soon.